Hi, my name is Eli Hendricks, and today I will be just talking about discrimination in the workplace, dealing with race and gender. Now, race and gender has been a huge problem in the workplace due to discrimination. It's really easy for people to come at and reject as sort of like a problem in themselves. They can't see people as equals, and that kind of causes a problem in the workforce. Just a little preview. Discrimination in the workplace is very common in our society. You see it pretty much everywhere, all the way to, fast food restaurants and, higher up businesses where you see women that aren't treated as fairly or equally because, there's a stereotype that women aren't great leaders or they're not strong enough to be a leader, whereas only men are the ones that can be the ones to lead everybody and make the decisions overall. A lot of people talk about how women might be too emotional, but everyone's emotional at the end of the day. It's just about fairness and equality, which is what we have to get to in the workplace. As I've said, race and gender play a huge part in the workplace discrimination. It's been going on for so long, and something needs to happen to change it. This topic was chosen due to its relatedness and problematic influences today. Outside of the workplace, you see discrimination in movies. How often do you see, a black woman play, a major lead role in a movie? You're starting to see it now, but before that, it was rare that a woman was played as the main lead role in a movie. And there's just so much going on within all that. Definition of discrimination, any form of harassment dealing with any of these below, which is like age, gender, race, ethnicity, you have skin color, then more factors involving it. You have your origin, whether you have mental or physical disabilities that can play a huge role into being discriminated against, genetics, any of that stuff. Relationship with someone who may be discriminated against. If you're in a interracial marriage, you might be discriminated because you're in a marriage with someone of a different race, or maybe they're way older than you, or they have a disability, and people pick on you and point that kind of stuff out rather than looking at you individually. Pregnancy and parenthood, that's kind of not a huge one, but people have been discriminated against for being at work pregnant or stuff like that. But normally people get maternity leave, which I'm sure you know of. Some information about workplace discrimination. In 2018, it was reported that there was 76,418 charges of workplace discrimination by coworkers and employees. Fun fact, 32.3% of workplace discrimination cases are due to race. And almost the same percentage, which 32.2% of workplace discrimination cases are due to gender or sex. And the craziest thing is that's over half the percentage of workplace discrimination charges. And the biggest thing is, as a society, the biggest thing we look at is, their race, or if they're male or female. And the craziest thing now is that we can't even look past that stuff and move beyond this stuff to work and improve our businesses and companies, and it's just terrible. Ways to prevent discrimination in the workplace. Some companies were actually sending out an anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policy throughout all levels of the workplace, and this was sort of a way to kind of establish that that no harassment or discrimination will be dealt with, and there would be no lenience to anyone who interferes with that policy. Active positioning of companies, leadership and diligent selection of employees. Trying to find employees that see everyone as equal and can actually be a leader and a role model in your company or business. And aspects of different language. People, as you can see in the picture I've posted, it discusses in the first part that jokes in the workplace can be very hard on some people, especially if they don't even act like it in person. Making jokes about sex, their gender, their race, ethnicity, their background, all that stuff. They might not show it, but that stuff hurts. And the biggest thing about that you see in the workplace is a lot of that. You might have someone working that maybe doesn't know anybody and kind of just likes to be sectioned off and work alone. And you have people that joke around with that person and, kind of mess with them, and that stuff's kind of messed up. So, ways to react to workplace discrimination. When confronted in the workplace, be sure to avoid reacting with anger or intentions. It's very easy when someone offends you at work to, have an outbreak or, cuss them out or, show some sort of anger towards them and cause a scene. And that's definitely not what you want, because that's an easy way to get fired and lose your job. Putting your job at risk, be an example to others and be a bigger person. Someone might offend you or say something rude to you, but at the end of the day, you can control how you feel and control your outcome and your future. To wrap it up, discrimination, it will always be there, but we have to minimize it. The biggest thing I feel like in the workplace is there's so much division, or so much dividedness, if that's a thing. You see how certain people flock around certain people, and then you have people that don't have anyone to come to or talk to, and all of that is just people seeing their differences and making that an excuse of why they aren't, connecting or talking to each other or trying to help each other. People in the workplace see themselves as privileged and don't care about hurting those around them or embarrassing them. You have some companies where people know that their position in the company is way more powerful than others, and they don't care to, joke or, make fun of someone because of maybe if they're a female or, maybe they're Hispanic or African American, or even if they're Caucasian, or even if they're, I don't know, Indian or something, And the biggest thing is they don't care. They feel privileged because of the power they hold within the company, and they use that against others because they know that nothing can happen if something were to break out, because they're at a way higher position, and more than likely the person that they're messing with would be the one to get fired because their job isn't as important in the business, pretty much. That's pretty much all I have. Discrimination is just one of those things where it's not a joke, and it can be very offensive, especially to people who already lack maybe self-esteem, and there's got to be something done about it because it's getting worse and worse. And you see it all the time. It might not be in the workplace, but just in general, people aren't treated as fairly, and it's a pretty big deal when discussing it in the workplace, because people are there trying to make a living, and if they're being harassed I mean, they just don't deserve that. You know, they're trying to make money to support their family or themselves, and people just don't care. And it's gotten to the point where, you know, you can find so many articles discussing it, and I mean, when you have that much information on something, it's because it's blown up, and something's got to change. And that's all I have for you today, and hope you have a good one.